Hey everybody, so just to continue on here, I know I've got, it's honey, I think, a little bit of honey, maybe peanut butter in my fucking beard. So anyway, I'm trying to get it out, I'm aware of it. It's not really a big deal, but anyway, it's just, I am aware of it. But again, getting into my panic attacks and anxiety, and it got really bad. And one of the biggest things for me was my inability, or I thought it was my inability. I was really breathing fine, but I felt like I couldn't fucking breathe. Like I was disoriented all the time. I was dizzy all the time, and I just felt like it was extremely hard for me to get like a good breath. Like I always felt like I was having to fight, like I wasn't getting enough air, and like that in itself too created just even more anxiety, because now it's like you already have all these other things that are going on inside your head that are creating this anxiety, or allowing this anxiety to plague you in the way that it is. And on top of these thoughts that are fucking that you're not dealing with or having issues dealing with, at least for me that's what it was, because a lot of my anxiety too came from me not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. Like I knew I didn't want to work in a kitchen, my whole life. I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do. Like I was really like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm just here. I have to get a job. I got to pay for this, da 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 da. But nothing ever really felt right. And I didn't have the type of relationships with my friends, or I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. Like I didn't have anything very sacred in my life, and this created a lot of just I wasn't well. Like I was not comfortable with myself and the situation I was in, and that in itself created a lot of anxiety. And then on top of that anxiety, once you continue the foods, again going back to the foods, because the foods, okay, the heavier, if they've got heavy metals in them, if they've got the fatter they are, the more processed they are. All of these things are going to help allow lower vibrational energy into your being, because they're going to dam you up and turn you more into a lower vibrational being rather than a higher vibrational being. So like if you continue to eat a lot of low vibrational foods or do a lot of lower vibrational activities, like these things have an effect on your DNA, I think on your DNA, like through epigenetics, which Dr. Bruce Lipton told us about it. He's shown how we can change the way our genes are affected. Like you might not be able to change your actual DNA code. It might take a lot of time, but you can change the way that your individual cells react to things. Like so, even though you may be predisposed to Alzheimer's or Huntington's disease or stuff like that, you can still do things that will help, essentially nullify those cells from becoming more active. And you can do things that can also speed up those cells and make that disease or that cancer, that sickness become more, give it a higher possibility of being in your life. And a lot of that has to go down, that goes into what you choose to consume, what you choose to say, what you choose to do with your life, So for me, I was eating a lot of shitty food. Like even though I was working out a lot, I was still eating, I think, fast food every night. And sometimes before work too. So almost like 2 times a day I was eating fast food. And then I also have cake at the end of the night, because I was trying to get bigger, because I was going to the gym all the time. So I thought, like, I was under this mindset that you just need to eat a lot more calories. So I was like, okay, if I need to eat more calories, I'm going to give me some fucking cake, because there's a lot of calories in cake. And so I started having cake every night. I'm on top of fast food, and about, just about a 6-pack of beer every night too. So it's like all these things, plus me not knowing what I want to do with my life, and then just the stress of going to work, and just everything, all of that just compiled into a mess that, turned into hardcore panic attacks. Like, I literally had to drive myself one time all the way to the hospital because I was convinced I was about to have a heart attack. And like I checked in, like I'm like this 22, 3 or 4 year old looking, very young, youthful, fit, athletic looking dude, checking myself into a hospital on my own because my family was up here in Oregon. I told him, I was like, yeah, I think I'm about to have a panic attack. I told him I think I might be having a heart attack, and they looked at me like I was kind of crazy. And then as they took me in, they checked my EKGs and all these types of things. They're like, no, your heart's fine. What we think is going on with you is you're having a panic attack. And, that's when I got introduced into like, the world of having panic attacks and anxiety disorders. And initially they gave me like some Xanax, which lasted for a little bit. And then, once the Xanax was gone, the Xanax was great, like while you're going through with it. But the problem with these pharmaceuticals, especially, and even herbs, if you continue to use them and abuse them, your body's going to get used to having them in its functioning all the time. And so you become dependent on these drugs. And it also, you just got to think like energetically, spiritually, like the more that you're using these things to cope with these difficult situations in your life, like the weaker you're becoming. Like if you're able to deal with it on your own, or with as little as you need from, substance uses to help you get through that, the stronger you're going to become. And if you continue to use these things over and over and over and over again, you're going to become addicted, both mentally and physiologically. Your cells will become addicted to these drugs, and your mind and your spirit will get addicted to that feeling that comes from taking those drugs, especially when you're dealing with challenging situations. And so a lot of the same thing with alcohol. That's one thing, because alcohol, this is where I got into drinking so much, is because alcohol does calm you the fuck down. Like when you're having panic attacks, you chug a beer, it's very similar to taking a Xanax. So, I turned into an alcoholic for a very long time. I drank a lot of Steel Reserve. I used to drink before work, at work, whenever I could. As soon as I got home after work, I was an alcoholic, a pretty bad alcoholic. And a lot of it was due, it started out as a playful thing, as we all kids do. It's just something I wanted to drink at night. And then it slowly but surely got stronger and stronger and stronger, especially when these anxieties and these panic attacks really started to manifest in my life in a really serious way. And I wasn't able to get a prescription to Xanax or anything like that, which is what I wanted. They put me instead on Lexapro, which is this SSRI. It's a serotonin, it helps you produce more serotonin inside your body, but it's an artificial way of doing it. So it's like, there are certain, practices and things you can do to help produce your own serotonin without having to take pharmaceuticals. Which I think is the best way to do things, because that's how you that's just the natural way that it should be done. Like, just taking a pill to solve your problems doesn't solve the problems. It's just alleviating the pain, and it's also taking away from the lesson that got you to that first place of pain. So this is why it's very dangerous to just continue to take things and hoping that by taking these things will solve your problems. And it's largely what this medical Western world is all about, is essentially just giving people stuff to help them feel better, instead of actually getting to the root cause of the problem. And again, if you're looking from things from a financial or a business standpoint, it's going to be behoovant for the people selling these products, these pharmaceuticals, these other drugs, that they don't want you to heal from your ailments. Because if you were to heal from your ailments, you would no longer need to buy their products, and they would then lose their profits. So this is also why, our whole situation here, this society, the way it's run with the pharmaceuticals, the medical industry, the health insurance, all of these things, the doctors, the way they're trained, it's all really flawed, and not even just flawed. I think it's literally been designed this particular way on purpose to keep us from getting to the root causes of our issues and dealing with things in a more sober, or even just in a more wildly accepting and raw type of way. Raw being getting to the knit and bones of the issue. So anyways, I checked myself into a hospital when I was in my early 20s, because I thought I was gonna have a heart attack, and that's when they told me, no, your heart's fine. But I was literally hardcore trouble breathing, getting dizzy. I almost blacked out one time when I was in a grocery store. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I remember I was buying some beer actually, and I was walking up to the cash register, and I could just see myself starting to black out. And it's what the fuck is going on? I was dead sober, hadn't had any beer or any weed or anything like that, because I stopped smoking weed because the weed started triggering the anxiety attacks, which became an issue with me too, because I used to love smoking weed and the mentality it put me in. And then once I stopped not being able to smoke weed because of the panic attacks, I knew something was going on with me that was not good, was not healthy. Just the fact that I had an issue with myself, that I wasn't able to smoke weed because of the fear that came upon me when I smoked marijuana. And but even knowing all that and having an issue with all that, I still continued to, it's just I knew it was there, and it's I knew the marijuana wasn't helping me. So for the time being, I consumed alcohol and opiates, and the opiates were especially alluring to me, because I was I feel like I'm on my deathbed, I'm dealing with all this shit. Why not just fucking, take something to help take the pain away? Especially with opiates, because they're not as disorientating as alcohol and destructive as alcohol. I mean, in their own way, they're almost worse, but they don't destroy your body and your organs the same way that alcohol does. It's really bad in your organs, especially if you're drinking shit that's cheap. If you buy better beer and better liquor and things like this and wine, there is my dad has a buddy in Southern Oregon who drinks nothing but really expensive beer all day long. He drinks it very slowly too. He makes a beer last maybe an hour or maybe even 2 hours, but it's really quality beer. It's $10 or $12 a 6-pack. So, but it's full of good ingredients, actual minerals and good nutrients that your body can use and actually help you grow better. As opposed to buying beer that's Steel Reserve or just cheap ass vodka or stuff like that, especially if it's in a plastic or an aluminum bottle. These things are going to affect your IQ. They're going to affect your overall being. They're just going to kill you at a quicker rate. Whereas drinking from glass, it's not going to do so. It's another factor. Like there's so many little things that go into these conditions that we deal with that we, you know, when you really got to get down to the every little nit and gritty thing part of your life and figure out what is helping perpetuate your sickness and what's actually helping you, you know, heal and get over and learn from your sickness and grow from it. Little things like that. Like, so cutting out more of the lower vibrational aspects of your life is going to help you reach a higher vibrational state is essentially what it boils down to. But I just wanted to share with people, like, the breathing thing for me was huge. Like that was one of the biggest symptoms of having an anxiety attack and panic attacks that plagued me, was me feeling like I couldn't breathe, because it stopped me from wanting to work out. It stopped me from wanting to talk to people. It stopped me from wanting to work. So I'd be like, well, you know, you're in the middle of work and you're trying to fucking work, and all of a sudden this fit comes over you to where you can't even breathe and you're full of fear, and it's like, I'm gonna black out. Like it makes you be like, maybe I shouldn't be working, you know. And then but that in itself is succumbing to fear, which is perpetuating the disease. So a lot of it comes to confronting your fears, you know, and then once you deal with the fears and also the fear of death, you know, in the state that you're in, like, are you okay with going right now? Like if you were to exit out right now, are you okay with that? Like, do you feel relatively, I mean, of course, nobody wants to, I mean, some people do, but you should want to continue to live your life. Like that's a good thing to do, right? To want to continue living. But I know what it's like to not want to continue living, but to be afraid of passing is just the perpetuation and giving more power into fear, which ties into anxieties and depression and addiction and feeling overwhelmed and defeated and all these types of things. So if that is something that you're dealing with, if you don't feel good about you passing right now, then you really should be examining your life and everything that you're doing and everything that you say and choose to be a part of, and see if that's really what you want to be a part of. Is that really you? Is that really what you resonate with? Is that your true truth? Or is it just something that you're going along with to help you cope with the situation that you're in? Because that's what I used to do. I used to just go along with these people and these things they say and these situations and the partying and all that, not because I really wanted to. It's just because like that's what was around me. Like that's just what was there, and it was like, it's better than, you know, at the time it seemed better than just sitting in my room and not doing anything and being alone. You know, it's better to have a little bit of company, even if you're going through miserable, even if the company's not the type of company you really want. It can be better to be around a miserable company rather than being alone. You know, but that in itself is you not wanting to deal with your own self. So that's also an issue there. You being afraid to be on your own. Yeah. So anyways, I mean, you know, again, like if the medical industry would introduce things like hemp seeds, because hemp doesn't get you high at all. But if you were to continue just eating the hemp seeds, are going to realign your brains back to their normal, original, God-designed order. So this is why, again, the hemp seeds are so imperative for a plethora of things, but even for mental issues and addiction issues, they're going to rewire your brain back to its original, like, childlike state of being, which in that state of being, we none of us, or at least hopefully you didn't have to deal with addiction and all types of really fucked up things in your life. Well, some people do as kids, but it's just, it'll help you get back to that child state of being that's not so manipulated by this matrix that we're in these worldly fucking ways and all those types of shit. So anyways, I didn't sleep very well. So sorry if I'm not speaking in the best manners, but I wanted to share this information with you guys, my experience with anxiety and panic attacks and just what I've learned in going through it. So, all right, y'all take care. Love you guys. Bye.